Let me just start off here. So my session is about brand. It's about how to build $1 million e-commerce business without $1 million ad budget. Really excited to talk about this. I want to start with my background because it's notable here because like I said, I'm Dan. I lead brand and product marketing at Privy. We're the #1 reviewed sales app in the Shopify App Store. But my background is in e-commerce marketing. It isn't small e-commerce brands. In fact, I didn't really know anything about small e-commerce brands before this year when I joined Privy. I actually joined in January of this year. But here I am. It's October 1st. I'm at this session. I'm actually going to give you a talk on brand and how to actually build your brand. So let me explain why that is. And I hope you're going to stick around because I have a lot to teach you today. Over the course of the last 10 months, I've learned a lot about e-commerce, specifically e-commerce marketing. That's because Privy, we have over 500,000 people using our product. And they've done over $4 billion in revenue, which is great. And over the course of 10 months, what we've done from a marketing standpoint is we've gone out and we've built this army of experts that we've learned from on our podcast, on Masterclass. We have a Masterclass session we do. We've been writing blog posts. We've been creating more content, right? We've actually built this army of really the best minds in e-commerce marketing. And so what we decided to do was, instead of having launching another podcast or another blog, we wanted to write like the definitive guide, the book on e-commerce marketing. And so we did that. It's called the eCommerce Marketing Handbook. And we interviewed 17 of the smartest people we could find in e-commerce marketing. Here they are right here. By the way, actually, I'll tell you, did I show it yet? No, I'm gonna come back to it. Sorry. This is the book on e-commerce marketing. And basically what we did was we went out and we interviewed all these people, and they all specialize in certain areas. But what I want to tell you is that what I'm going to teach you today doesn't just come from me. It comes from these 17 experts that have actually grown their e-commerce brand from 0 to 1 million in sales. We sat down, we interviewed all of them. And by the way, the book that I just referenced, it's not live yet. We actually haven't shipped it yet. It launches next week, Tuesday, actually. We're super excited. It launches on Tuesday. It's only $15. And it's going to ship for free anywhere in the US. So if you're interested in that, just jump over to privy.com/book. You can do it after the session. Stick around. This session, by the way, is one of the chapters on brand. That's essentially what I'm going to be going through with you today. But if you want to check this out, just jump over to privy.com/book. You can sign up for our wait list. We're going to launch it next week, like I said. Okay, so in this session, let's get specific. What are you going to learn today? So we're going to talk about what is brand and why it's so important to growing your business, especially for small e-commerce brands. We're going to hear about one of these e-commerce brands, how they actually grew from 0 to 1 million in sales without running a single ad. I'm going to talk about what they did. And then at the end, I'm going to give you a homework assignment, and I'm going to teach you how to write a why statement for your brand. So let's get into it. The place I like to start with brand is actually not by defining it, by talking about what it's not. So when I'm talking about brand, what I'm not talking about is your logo or your ads or your company name or your Instagram feed or even your mission statement. When I'm talking about brand, I want you to think about Apple, right? Apple is one of the highest value tech companies in the world. Everybody knows Apple, right? But a huge reason for their success is their brand, right? Many of us are drawn to Apple products, not because their products are really good, they are, but we want to own an Apple product, right? We want to be associated with their brand, and we're willing to pay a lot more so that we can be, part of that community. We can be part of their brand. And so that's what I'm talking about when I talk about brand. I'm not just talking about the visuals, the logos, and the colors of your business. I'm talking about that feeling that Apple creates. And then here's the thing, right? Brand isn't just something for big corporations to worry about. It's something that everybody should be thinking about. I love this quote from Nick. He's one of the 17 experts that we interviewed for the book. And I love it for many. Let me read it. The direct response advertising gets you your first purchase. Brand equity and consistency will get you subsequent purchases, right? And I love it because it really talks about the ROI of brand, right? It's easy. Well, I wouldn't say it's easy, but it's easier to, calculate the ROI on an ad campaign and ad spend. It's harder to do it with brand. But really what I want you to think about is that building a brand is going to help you in the long run grow your business. In the long run, it's going to help you become profitable. It's going to help you hit the $1 million mark, right? And just to be clear, like the long run, like investing in it, it's not something you should start later on. It's something that you can start building a community of loyal customers right now if you want to, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So let's go back. Instead of what brand is not, let me talk about what brand is. So again, I'm actually not used to presenting decks with tons of bullet items in them. That's not really my thing, but we went interviewed. We actually have basically this data set from these, interviews with these 17 experts. Again, everyone who's either consulted or helped build or done it on their own, grow from 0 to 1 million. So these are some of the definitions we got from those experts. Your brand is how you stand out in a crowded market. Your brand is your reputation. And I want to talk about that one a little bit more in a second. Your brand is a gut feeling, right? When you walk into an Apple store, you have that gut feeling of this is high-end products. This is the very best computer or phone that I can buy. The brand is the experience you deliver. That's a huge one for e-commerce, right? What kind of experience what it's like to buy from you? And I want to talk about that one in a few minutes as well. Your brand is your customer buy-in, right? Like they're bought into your mission, they're bought into your product, they're bought into your lifestyle that you're presenting. Brand is community, right? It's the community you create. In fact, the customer I referenced before, the Privy customer that's grown from 0 to 1 million without sales, a big reason for their success was they invested in community. And your brand is your why, right? Your brand is why you do what you do. It's also your story. So reputation, let's talk about this one for a second. So your brand is your reputation. It's not, so like the thing to understand with building a brand is like, it's not entirely up to you, right? You can write the words, you can come up with the visuals, the color palette, you can kind of set the mood, do those things. But like the market, your customers, they get a vote too. They get to be, they're part of it. So like one of the number one things we heard from these experts was, brand is as much about listening to your customers as it is telling them what you're about, right? You have to listen. And it's really valuable when you do that. It's like that actually helps you write your subject lines, your product pages, your ad copy, your mission statement, which we're going to talk about again at the end. Like steal those words from your customers. It's as much about listening as it is about, telling them what you're about. And once you get that feedback from them, once you hear, from your customers, what their perception is of your brand, and what they're saying on Twitter or Instagram about your brand, what they're writing in their reviews, like that if you hear it from a handful of people and you see a pattern, it's more likely that it's going to apply to a larger audience, right? So pay attention to those things. Another thing that experts taught us was your brand is the experience you deliver. And like, it's not just the aesthetic of your Instagram ads. Again, I'm trying to break the mold of it's just this visual. It's what's on my, Instagram feed. It's what's on my website. It's not, it's more than that, right? It's the unboxing experience. It's the return experience. It's the customer service experience. It's what's on your packaging, right? It's how things are packaged, right? I keep going back to Apple, but think about how they package their items. They put so much thought into those packaging. And when I buy an Apple product, I look forward to it, right? I look forward to opening up that package and pulling off that plastic and opening up that white box and seeing the product that I bought. So brand is really the feeling of what it's like to buy from you. That's another thing that experts taught us. A great example of experience, so experience you deliver, that's what brand is. A great example of this is Tony Hsieh, the founder of Zappos. He writes in this book, Delivering Happiness. It's a great book about a bunch of things, but really about how Zappos invested in customer service. And their brand was really built around the customer service that they provided, right? They're a shoe company, right? They sell shoes, and they're one of the first e-commerce shoe companies. And their customer service team was legendary for going, way out of their way to make their customers happy. Even going as far as, I think there's a story about how they ordered a pizza for a customer. They're a shoe company, and I don't know the circumstances of why they ended up ordering a pizza, but that was sort of like the brand they wanted to set. This was a company, this was a customer service team that was going to go through incredible lengths to make their customers happy. Okay, so story. Your brand is your story, right? Your story is what will win customers and help fuel all of your marketing, from ad creative to the headline of your site. And again, in talking to the experts, they really say, hey, there's really 3 versions of your story that you should have. So this is actually something maybe worth writing down, right? The long version, which is about a page, like what is your 1-page story about your brand, your business, why you exist, what you're trying to do. The short version, which is roughly about a paragraph, and then the headline version, right? Something that would be in a article about you. My friend runs a chocolate milk company, a chocolate milk e-commerce company. They're reinventing milk. They're giving milk a clean slate, right? The company is called Slate, right? That's like their headline version. And each one of those versions can belong somewhere. Your about page, your welcome series of emails, or your ad creative, right? If you write those 3 versions of what your brand is, that's a very good way of getting started growing your brand. And your brand is your why. I love this example because, so this is a company called Rogue. I don't know if you saw it. I'm sorry, I turned off my camera because I wanted to be able to see as much as possible, but I'm actually wearing a Rogue t-shirt right now. This company, they're a fitness equipment company. This is a screenshot I took from their page today. I love to give them as an example when we talk about having a why and writing a why statement, because Rogue has lived their core values, what their why is. Their why is to serve their community. They're based in Columbus, Ohio. They employ people in the community. 100% of their employees live in the community. When COVID hit, they had one of the best responses I had seen. In fact, if you go to their website right now and you look at their nav bar, you can see there's this little link to COVID-19 status. This is that page, and they tell you that they actually shut down production of their fitness equipment to make masks, face shields, ear respirators, and other equipment, medical equipment, because their why is they serve their community above all else, right? In fact, if you think about it, in the last earlier this year, when so many people went into quarantine, fitness equipment, the demand for fitness equipment skyrocketed. But this company, they had their why, they had their mission, and they decided, hey, we're going to serve our community, and we're going to try to help save lives instead of trying to capitalize on this potential demand. And they've just lived their values. I know they've won so many people over with their response to COVID. This page is crazy. They have every little detail about they source their lunches for their employees from local companies. I mean, their why is so strong and so front and center. I mean, I'm telling you right now, I'm a lifelong customer of this brand, and I will be forever. I will buy their products over cheaper products for the rest of my life because my values align with theirs. So writing their why was so important for them. Okay, so I've just talked a lot about brand. I gave you a bunch of definitions that our experts gave to us, and how to think about brand and how to think about building the brand. Now I want to focus on what you should do to build your brand. Let's talk about some of the tactics. Okay, so here's the 4 that our experts gave us, right? What should a small e-commerce brand go and do to grow their brand? So the first one was find free money, as they frame it, right? This is just like a good tactic for getting out there and getting your name out there and your product out there. Especially, this one's really good for people that are really new and just getting started. There are a million different options out there for ad credits on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Google Ads, right? When those opportunities present themselves, we were doing a masterclass a couple of months ago with Savannah Sanchez. She's a e-commerce paid specialist, and she had a $500 ad credit to Snapchat that we gave to everybody at the masterclass so they could take it and go check it out and go do some advertising on Snapchat, right? So the first pillar the experts taught us was just go out there, you have your mission, you know what you're supposed to do, go out there and just start building some brand awareness, right? And if you really get early on, go and take advantage of these free ad credits for paid, and go out there and start doing it. The second principle, which I don't know, maybe I should have put this principle first, but it's the idea of just testing, right? And be constantly learning for your market. We talked about it before, right? I'm going to give you this exercise at the end about writing your why statement. But this is really important. Go out and test it, right? Go out and check with customers. Go out and validate that what you think you're all about and what your mission is actually resonates with the people that are buying your product, right? And then be constantly testing it in ad creative, on your homepage, in your emails, in your welcome series, in your pop-ups on your website, right? You got to be constantly learning basically from your market if what you're about and your values and what your brand is resonating with your audience. The third pillar, network and collaborate. Find other brands to work with. And I'm going to talk about 3 ways in the next slide that you can do this. Network and collaborate. Working with other brands is going to really help you build your brand awareness. And the fourth one is starting a swipe file. So documenting great marketing. And I'm going to teach you how to do that in just a second. Okay, so the 3 ways to network and collaborate. Actually, you know what? I'm going to pause real quick. I'm just going to look at the comments because they're actually doing pretty good on time. Awesome. I don't think there's any questions right now. Great. All right, I'm going to jump back into jump back into my presentation. All right, so 3 ways to network and collaborate. So the first is find role model e-commerce brands. So the people, the 17 experts that have grown from 0 to 1 million and beyond, they said one of the best ways of building your brand is going out there and finding role models that you can learn from. And it's not necessarily people that you will partner with and do car marketing. That's actually the second item. The idea is just like go find people that have brands that you like, maybe you've bought from them, and go see if you can get connected with their founders or their team or whoever, right? You can reach out on Instagram, try, finding contact information on their website, find someone to learn from, a mentor. That was the first piece of advice they gave us. The second, find brands that do co-marketing with, right? So co-marketing, I didn't know this, but co-marketing is a huge opportunity for building your brand, especially if you find the right, brands that match your values, your core values. So, Rogue, if they did an event with, they do co-marketing with CrossFit, for instance. They do co-marketing with these other, fit, Nike, other companies like that that actually have the same values as them, right? That's another thing you can do. You can do joint promos. You can create content together. You could share a space at an event, maybe split the cost of that. That was another tactic for finding brands to co-market with. The third one is finding influencers. And this one, like the recommendation was, don't overthink this one. You can find micro influencers. It's a growing trend right now. There's a lot of micro influencers out there. They might not even be influencers, but like a great way to start is like find customers who are really passionate about your product and your brand, and then work with them, figure out how you can incentivize them to talk about your brand and product. That was another great way of how to use network and collaborate to grow your brand. And then swipe file. So advertising professionals, they do this. They have these swipe files where when they see an ad that inspires them, they just take a screenshot, they put it in, some sort of folder or whatever to organize it. You should do this too, right? It could be ads, it could be emails that you receive, it could be websites you're visiting, it could be videos, it could be any other piece of marketing. One tactic would be like figure out, go check out your favorite brands. For me, it might be Rogue or Apple, and sign up for their mailing list. Like start building your own swipe file based on what they're doing, their emails, their ads, their videos. That's a great way of doing it. And the other thing is like anytime you buy something online, which by the way, we're all doing right now, right? Like all of us are buying stuff online, not just from Amazon. A lot of us are trying to support small businesses as well. Like journal, like why'd you buy it? Like break down the process. What ads did you see? How did you discover them? What convinced you on the product page that it was worth buying or the quality was good? What reviews did you read? Journal and write that down. And that's the swipe file that you can have. Okay, so this is Vivian Kay. She's one of the 17 experts in the book. She's an e-commerce entrepreneur. She teaches e-commerce entrepreneur. She's awesome. She's an advisor. We've worked with her throughout this year. And like I said, she's in the book. She's who I was referencing before. She built her brand without spending money on ads. And I'm going to explain that, like how she actually did it. Spoiler, it's brand, right? And I love this quote from her. I didn't set out to start $1 million business. I set out to solve my own problem. And so her product is called Kinky Curly Yaki. It's hair extensions for Black women. It's obviously a niche, right? And so we'll talk about that. But like the 3 secrets to her success was, first of all, before she even had a product, she was part of these communities. So she was part of a Black hair care forum. She was part of other Facebook groups where like she had already built up sort of a reputation and built up a community of people, so that when she did have a product, it was just a way more, instead of just jumping in a group, be like, hey, I have this product, go check it out. She was already, someone in that community, someone knew and respected. And so she had this opportunity to work within these communities. And after, she just actually had a perfect product because, she had solved her own problem. Vivian also invested in customer service, right? So kind of similar to what Tony Hsieh and the Zappos team did, right? Except Vivian didn't hire a team. She was doing it herself, right? Like a lot of us, small e-commerce brands, like we don't have the luxury to go hire a team and make sure we have, 24/7 phone support or whatever it is. But she was on every channel. She was making sure her customers were 100% satisfied, whether that was Instagram DMs, chat on her website, email replies. She focused and she thought, hey, one of my pillars to growing my brand, my brand, which will become my moat. And so competitors can't, penetrate my moat, was I'm going to, invest in customer service. So people that buy from me are super, super happy. What we like to call deliriously happy. And then, like I said before, she also focused on a niche, right? Instead of going wide with her product, like it could be hair extensions, right? She focused on a niche. It's hair extensions for Black women, right? So she actually found the niche that she wanted to focus on. And this quote's great too. I was talking about the moat, right? When you have a brand, it's a moat that competitors can't, invade. What competitors that came along didn't have was me. I was on Instagram and Facebook. In the DMs, I talked to my customers. I'd make them feel heard. I made it a point to listen, right? So what she realized was with her brand, this was how she was going to be able to build a moat, an impenetrable moat. They can't replicate her, so that's how she was going to, make her customers deliriously happy and make them feel this intense loyalty to her brand. Okay, so let's talk about your homework assignment. Doing pretty good on time here, so I'd love to do some questions and Q&A after we finish this up. But first, let's talk about the homework assignment. So brand, we've talked about it. It's one of those things that's hard to just do X, Y, and Z, right? There's no one tutorial like there is for Facebook ads and how to set it up and get started, right? So for brand, here's the exercise that I propose that you do. And it's going to be writing your why statement and then testing it, right? So write down your statement for why you started your business. And it's not necessarily your goal or the purpose behind it. It's what is your product and why your product? Why do your customers care about your product? And what can it actually do for them? So some simple ways of doing this would be, write it out my brand helps, is to make blank easier, right? Our mission is to make a better blank, or, our mission is to help blank do blank, right? There's a couple different ways. You don't have to overcomplicate it. I think it could be a couple of lines, just explaining, hey, this is what we're doing. We're doing this in a better way. We're doing this in a different way. We're trying to make this thing easier. There's a couple different ways of framing it. And then the second part of the exercise is go test it. So you don't need any survey software. You don't need SurveyMonkey or anything complicated. You either have customers or you have target customers. Go ask them for feedback, right? And we talked about it before. Instagram DMs, recent purchases, customers that have interacted with your customer service recently, right? You've been exchanging emails with. All you have to do is hey, I'm working on a brand statement. Do you think this represents the experience that you're having with our brand? And then you give them that statement. That's really it. And you'll be surprised by the feedback you get, I bet. And again, it goes back to that statement that brand is reputation. It's how you, it's how your market feels about you and what you've been able to do for them. So that's the exercise. Write your brand statement, your why, and then go out there and find some people to test it with, get some feedback. And it starts there. And there's a lot of different places that you can go with it. I will say, like I mentioned before, this book is coming out next week. If you are interested in it, it's privy.com/book. By the way, Privy, we're the number one sales app, number one reviewed sales app in Shopify, we have tools to help you grow your email list, send emails, all that stuff. We're not a book company. This isn't, our new business. This is a book we wrote because we know small e-commerce brands need it. We know that they, will benefit from it. So if you're interested in the book, it comes out next week. Just jump over to privy.com/book. You can add to the wait list and we'll email you next week when it's available to purchase. All right, that's my presentation. I appreciate everybody listening. It looks like there's a couple questions. I'm going to try to answer them live. Some questions about the book. Let's see. I see Jennifer, where or in what way specifically did Vivian invest in her customer service? So the biggest way, and that's what I was trying to talk about a little bit, Jennifer, was the biggest thing was just making it a priority. As a small business owner, you have so many different things that you have to do. You could be investing and doing a bunch of stuff on ads or email or, developing your product or research, whatever, right? Or managing, your Shopify account. She just made, customer service a priority and just made it her goal to make sure that every customer was as satisfied as possible, within reason. So it's really not one way in specific. It's more of just making sure you answer every question, doing support on Instagram DMs or in odd places, picking up the phone and calling people, right? She didn't hire someone to do customer service until she'd almost reached 1 million in sales, right? And she was obviously doing a lot of other things. So that's one way that she did it. What are the questions? Do you recommend swipefile.com? I've actually never heard of it, Candace, so I definitely can't recommend it. Anything though that's going to help you organize your swipe file, I would recommend. Can you buy the e-commerce marketing handbook in the UK? Yes, you can. Shipping isn't free outside of the US, but you can still buy it. I will say on Tuesday, we're going to announce it. We're going to have a very special deal. I mean, again, we're not a book company. We're not trying to make money off the book. It's just so we can basically cover the cost of manufacturing it. But we are doing a special deal on Tuesday. So just put your name on the wait list on the landing page, and we'll make sure to send you an email when it goes live and give you that special deal. Let me see. Can you test your brand statement on targeted market if you haven't launched your business yet? Yes, absolutely. You can 100% test it. Friends, family, maybe someone you find on Twitter, or like Twitter is a good place to go search for what people are talking about. You might be able to find some people that are talking about the problem that you present. Vivian's example was, Black women struggle with hair extensions, and so she was able to like find, obviously she was part of those communities, but she was able to talk to those people and realize, oh wait, there's like a product that can be made here. So absolutely go test that brand statement before you launch. There's no need to wait until after you've launched. How long does it take for brand to actually start converting to sales? That's a great question, Christina. It's one of those things like we cover this in the book a little bit, like how do you actually calculate the ROI of brand, right? It's tough. Like it's not one of those things that it's like there's like a formula, like, oh, you just do traffic divided by sales divided, like there's not like this one formula. I think like when we posed that question to some of the experts, and a lot of them said, you just start to feel it. You start to see it in interactions with customers. You start to realize that people are coming in because they love what you're about and they love what kind of product you do. You start seeing that in the reviews. You start seeing it in customer support. I can say on the B2B side, that's how I've seen a lot of it. Like you just start, like we have a podcast, we do a lot of presentations, we do a lot of these things. And like when people are tweeting at us and they're sharing this stuff, like we're seeing, like we're just getting this sort of like this quick feedback loop of people kind of indicating, yes, I just want to be part of the Privy brand. The same is true from e-commerce from my experience. Okay, I have a minute left. I'm just going to pick one question. Vimal said, hey, Dan, what would you say for a new startup is the best way to get out there? I would do the things that we'd reference on that slide. Go find free money, go get free advertising. There's a bunch of ways you can search for it. Go check out, people that are talking about it online and doing courses. They often have those free credits. Write your brand statement, and then go and find the people on social media who are talking about the issue that you're trying to solve. And then, maybe present them with your brand statement, maybe start a conversation and say, hey, by the way, I'm building this product. Would you like to try it? Maybe they buy it. Maybe they become an influencer. It starts with like that one-to-one, hand-to-hand approach. That's how you get the ball rolling and you actually get good feedback. So go out there and find that stuff. All right, I have to run. I'm up on time. Thank you everybody for listening. I really do appreciate it. I think I'll be able to try to answer some more of these questions in a minute. Really, really do appreciate everybody checking it out, this presentation today. Thanks.